So we've been talking about prospects, and we're going to continue to talk about prospects. And this magazine is definitely going to help. And it's a funny thing because we can all discuss who's got really good young players, but until they're in the NHL, we don't know. That's how busts work. They show the blast from the past, as they title it here. Top 50 prospects from 2008 and 2013. So let's take just a look. Number 1 in 2008 on Future Watch was Carey Price. Good call. Number 2, Kyle Turris. 3, James Van Riemsdyk. Then Jakub Voracek, Patrick Berglund, Derek Brassard, Bobby Ryan at 7. Kyle Okposo, Carl Alsner, Jonathan Bernier, Tuukka Rask. So Bernier was ahead of Rask. Sean Matthias was number 12. Steve Mason, 13. Gilbert Brulé, 14. Devin Setoguchi, 15. Claude Giroux, 16. Whoops. Even after guys are drafted, it's an inexact science. So, video I did today where I talked about young players I'm excited about. Hey, if they're not in the NHL yet, nope. If they're in the NHL and they're playing well, absolutely. Let's have a discussion about how solid they're playing. But until they get there, nope. I mean, look at Brulé. Brulé right now is playing in the KHL. Devin Setoguchi's in Germany. Jack Skilley's on the list at 18. He's in the KHL as well. Brian Little at 17. Both players listed at 18 and 19 have passed away. TJ Oshie, 21. Or 19 and 20 are players that have passed away. 21's TJ Oshie, then Brandon Sutter, then Michael Backlund, Nikolai Kulemin. Andre Pavlich, Teddy Purcell, he's in the KHL. Nick Foligno, Mason Raymond, he's in Switzerland. Michael Frolik, Thomas Hickey, Ryan McDonough at 31. Bobby Sanguinetti, he's in Switzerland. Cody Franzen, AHL. Andre Sekera, Brian Lee, he's retired. Jakub Kindle, he's in the Czech Republic. Max Pacioretty's at 37. Ryan Perrant, he's retired. Kevin Shattenkirk, Colton Gillies, he's in the KHL. Brett McLean, Leland Irving, who's in the American Hockey League. Justin Pogge, he's in Sweden. Lars Eller, Matt Lashoff, Jonathan Eriksson, Ty Wishart, he's in the Czech Republic. Jonathan Blum, he's in the KHL. Zach Hamill, he's in Czech Republic. And Eric Fair comes up at 50. So that's 10 years ago till now. From 5 years ago, and I'll go through this as quickly as I can, Vlad Tarasenko was at 1, Justin Schultz was at 2, ahead of Evgeny Kuznetsov at 3, Dougie Hamilton 4, Nail Yakupov at 5, Alex Galchenyuk, Michael Granlund, Jonathan Huberdeau, Ryan Murray, Jacob Trouba, John Gibson, Hampus Lindholm, Ryan Strome, Mark Scheifele. So Strome's 13, Scheifele's 14. Berchi at 15, Michael Grigorenko, he's in the KHL, he's at 16. Mika Zibanejad, Jakob Silverberg, Morgan Riley, Chris Kreider, Philip Forsberg at 21, Jonas Brodin, Griffin Reinhart, he's still in the American Hockey League, Robin Lehner, Andrei Vasilevsky, Brendan Smith, American Hockey League, Charlie Coyle, Boone Jenner, Jaden Schwartz, Jakob Markstrom, or Jacob Markstrom, either way, I don't know how long he's going to be in the NHL. Kalle Järnkrok, Brandon Gormley, who's in Sweden, Brandon Saad, Teuvo Teravainen, Scott Lawton, Nick Bjugstad, Oscar Klefbom, JT Miller, Thomas Hertl, Oli Mata, Nathan Bolya, Derek Pouliot, Joel Armia, Marcus Foligno, Malcolm Subban, Brett Ritchie, Matt Dumba, Rickard Rakell, Zemgus Girgensons, and coming in at 50, Johnny Gaudreau. Right below Zemgus Girgensons. And this is the thing. When we're talking about prospects, we're talking exactly about that. We're talking about guys who may have fantastic records in the minors, and then in the NHL, it just doesn't happen. It just doesn't. Now, I'm not going to get into a whole lot. I'll talk about, or I'll get into the top 20. So I'll give you the top 20. Okay, but you got to buy the magazine to read the rest. I'll touch on a little bit. Casey Middlestad's rated number 1. I can't argue with that, but again, right now, he's in Minnesota. Is he going to play in the NHL next year? That's the only question I have with Middlestad. Elias Pettersson, Miro Heiskanen, and I know Dallas fans are excited about Heiskanen. Cale Makar. Dylan Strome is at 5. I don't know about Dylan Strome at 5 personally because, again, at the NHL level, he struggled. Martin Nikash, Eli Tolvanen, Robert Thomas, Cody Glass, Henrik Borgstrom. So, Buffalo, Vancouver, Dallas, Colorado, Arizona, Carolina, Nashville, St. Louis, Vegas, Florida. Isn't that nice? One from every team, pretty much. At 11, Kirill Kaprizov. He, of course, is in CSKA, and he played at the Olympics, and Minnesota fans should be a little bit excited about that. Jordan Kyrou of St. Louis is at 12, then Alexander Nylander. And I don't know with Nylander. His American Hockey League totals this year are kind of suspect, and I don't know about him at 13. 14, Elias Anderson. Philip Hedl at 15. Juuso Valimaki at 16. Sam Steele at 17. Ilya Samsonov at 18. Jack Roslovic at 19. And Gabe Vilardi at 20. Just missing the cut there is Oliu Levy at 21. And number 100 on this is Alexander Texier, plays for Kalpa in Finland. He's a Columbus prospect. And then they get into guys who haven't graduated yet, like Nick Nichushkin, who now Nichushkin played in the NHL, and now they've got him back in the prospect rankings. And I don't understand that because we've already seen him at the NHL level, and it's not like he hasn't played a lot. He has. And his totals this year in the KHL do not inspire me. I have my concerns as a Dallas fan because I keep hearing about how he's getting better, but they've overall got him rated as a 46. He's got 24 points in 48 games for Moscow at the time this was printed. I don't know. I'm not sold on Nichushkin. Then they got Jason Dickinson still in here. I'm not sold on him as an NHLer. John Gillies, goaltender, so it takes a little longer. Michael McCarron, who I don't see at the NHL level. Samuel Morin. And they talk about how Morin, you have to kind of adjust your expectation. Flyers fans may have expected a little more of him than what he's capable of early on. Thatcher Demko and Kasperi Kapanen are in here. Kapanen, I think, is going to be up to stay next year. Thatcher Demko could be up early next year or at the start of the year, and he could be up to stay as well for Vancouver. Nikita Sherbak, Ivan Barbashev, Vlad Hamenev, and of course Hamenev would be at the NHL level right now, but injury, right? Broken arm. Jake Wallman, Tony DeAngelo, and DeAngelo's one of those guys who's been kind of his own worst enemy. Michael Del Colli, or Del Cole, don't matter. I don't think he's going to make it. The funny thing is they show that Del Cole has gone from a 12 in Future Watch 15 to a 46 in Future Watch 16 to a 93 in Future Watch 17 to not being rated in the top 100 prospects this year. And if I just go ahead and scroll over to his page, he's the number 6 prospect for the Islanders, 6 goals in 46 games, NHL size, but not quite NHL ready, developing a more responsible game. This means we've given up on him as a top 6. We're trying to cultivate a bottom 6 in this guy. And this is where it gets interesting because I talked today already about how I don't hate Anaheim like I did. And part of it for me is Sam Steele and Max Jones. Now Jones offensively has had the goals, hasn't had the points overall. This is a 20-year-old in Kingston, so that's a warning flag of sorts. They've still got him at 86. Maxime Comtois has signed his contract as a pro. And it's interesting because when I look at their prospects, and I understand that they go through a number of scouts to get their prospect lists and figure out who the top 100 are, I would probably put Comtois right now ahead of Max Jones, but that's just me. But like, for instance, you look at Boston. They've got Trent Frederic at number 5. They've got Anders Bjork at number 4. Again, if not for injury, I don't think Bjork's on the prospect list. Trent Frederic, he may end up being a steal. He's drafted at 20. Yeah, he was 29th in 2016, and I think he may end up being a steal. I wasn't 100% sold on the pick when it was made, but Don Sweeney has earned my respect. And the interesting thing, too, is that they rate each team's prospect pool. So when they get into rating each team's prospect pool, they have Toronto at 1, because of course they do. I'm just kidding. They have Philly at number 2, Arizona at number 3, Boston at number 4, Winnipeg at number 5, Colorado at number 6, St. Louis at number 7, New Jersey at number 8, Vancouver at number 9, and Carolina at number 10. 31st, they have Pittsburgh. And it's interesting because then I look at Pittsburgh's, and to me, anyways, I think Pittsburgh's got a decent prospect pool, and I'm not sure why they stick out at 31st, unless it's not very shallow. Because they have Daniel Sprong here, they have him ranked as 56th. Tristan Jarry, they have at 74th. Dominic Simon, who's already come up and shown he can play at the NHL level. He needs to work on consistency, sure, but he's already shown he can play. They don't rate him at all. He's 23, so he's probably about as good as he's going to get. Lucas Benson is in here, and then Zach Aston-Reese is listed as number 5. And, again, I'm not sure why you'd put Benson ahead of Zach Aston-Reese. They're both 23 years of age. Aston-Reese is a bigger player. Benson's a defenseman. I haven't heard his name through any of the NHL websites I've seen, so I haven't seen if he ever got called up at all this year or not. But at 23 years of age, I would probably put Zach Aston-Reese ahead of Benson. But it is always interesting to look back because, like I said with the top 50, we may have a really good idea of who is who and who's going to be really, really excellent. For instance, Jordan Kyrou of St. Louis would be the one that gets mentioned the most. Kyrou's elite level skating and skill have allowed him to dominate in junior. There are concerns about his effectiveness when he's not making explosive plays, but his performance at the World Junior Championship has swayed skeptics. He's a new wave guy, Armstrong said, and this is Doug Armstrong, the GM. He's a guy we talked about at the draft when we said we wanted speed, we want skill, and someone who can push the pace. He has to tidy up some points in his game with consistency, but he's shown some high-end flashes. So, consistency may be a red flag at some point, and the other one being his effectiveness away from the puck, which is standard for young kids. It's standard, but the thing is, some young kids will come in and play really well, and some of them sometimes are Gilbert Brulé, who then, of course, everybody piled on Columbus. No, he got rushed into Columbus, and then he had the good year in, pretty sure it was Edmonton. He had the good year in, and then he disappeared again right after that. So, it's not that clear, and there's no exacting standard for this. Like, you look at the top 10 list for Toronto, and to me, it's a good list. I don't know that I'd have it at the top. Kasperi Kapanen's at 1, Timothy Liljegren's at 2, and he does look like a steal from last year's draft. Travis Dermott, Carl Grundstrom, Joseph Wall, Andreas Janssen, who has, since this was printed up, come up and scored a goal. Jeremy Bracco, Emily Rasanen, Dmitro Timashov, and Andrew Nielsen. And yeah, I don't know that I look at this and say that's the best top 10 prospects. But again, I don't claim to be an expert with all of this, and as I said, I take all of this with a grain of salt. I want to know how they're going to do in the NHL. DeBrincat's a good example this year. Because of DeBrincat's size, it could have taken him longer to acclimate to the pro game than it did. He came in, he's played well, he's got a 20-goal season under his belt. With a hot run at the end of the year, he could end up near 30 goals. And that's a fantastic rookie season. And he's proven that he's capable of handling the grind. Not all smaller players can. Even though the game isn't as physical as it was 20 years ago, even though the game's more geared towards smaller skilled players, it doesn't always work out that way. So yeah, I honestly, I recommend this magazine. I will go over other stats from it, and I've been flipping through it since I got it. And this is what I do. I go through it, finish the whole thing, and then I go through it again, finish the whole thing, go through it again, finish the whole thing. I've often told Yvonne it's not that I'm necessarily smart. I remember, and I reread and reread and reread and reread. And Future Watch magazines, I have all of them going back, I want to say 12 years. And I believe I did a fun video last year about it. At the very least, I meant to. But I can do fun videos about Future Watch stuff because we do have the draft coming up. That is one thing I can touch on in here before I close her up. Is they do talk about this year's draft, and this is an exciting draft. They have Rasmus Dahlin at number 1, no surprise. They have Svechnikov at number 2, Brady Tkachuk at number 3, Zadina at number 4. Now, if the Canucks draft 4th and get Zadina, I'll be a happy camper. One of the top scorers in the QMJHL, but despite being a rookie, Zadina had his breakout at the World Juniors, sniping his way into the hearts of fans and pundits with dark horse checks. High-end skill and a never-quit motor. Scout says he's the real deal. He does everything hard. He shoots hard, passes hard, skates hard. You don't see natural goal scorers like him very often anymore, but that's what he is. He'll be playing in the NHL next year. That's the kind of player that these guys need. Adam Boqvist is the next highest rated defenseman at 5. Quinn Hughes at 6. Oliver Wahlstrom at 7. Noah Dobson at 8. And I think just from his bio, his size, honestly, this is the kind of kid that I think turns out to be a steal in the draft. Evan Bouchard's at 9, and Isaac Lundstrom at 10. And the thing with Dobson, too, is he does need to fill out a bit, and there might be a team that looks between Bouchard and Dobson and goes with Bouchard because he's got a more NHL projected frame at 6'2", 191, and Dobson's at 6'3", 178, but we'll see. Does that really matter anymore? Are there enough smaller players that have proven that you can be small in the NHL and make it? And then they also get into the draft after this one. Jack Hughes, number 1. And then number 2 prospect right now, Alex Newhook, who is from Newfoundland, and he plays for Victoria in the BCHL. So we'll see. Saskatoon's Kirby Dack is up next. Peyton Krebs. Ryan Suzuki, Nick's little brother. And there's some talk already about him being the more talented brother. Cam York, Alex Turcotte, Raphael Lavoie, Nathan Foote, and Cole Caulfield. And Nolan Foote is interesting because he's the number 1 rated one in here. He's the son of Adam Foote and younger brother of Tampa's Cal Foote, and yet he's a forward. So that'd be interesting to see if one of Foote's kids can play forward and see how that works out. And then if you want to look a year past the 2020 sneak peek, they have Alexis Lafreniere, Alexander Holtz, Jamie Drysdale. Just remember, don't get too excited about the 15-year-olds because you never know when today's 15-year-old phenom is going to be 18-year-old, probably second or third rounder, and he's not quite what we thought he'd be, that kind of thing. But let me know what you guys think, especially if you've read it. How much stock do you put in prospect reports? How excited do you get about these young guys before they come up? And again, I always take it with a grain of salt. Even Pettersson right now as a Canucks fan, I'm like, you know what? Let's just see him on the ice first. Because it took the Sedins years to get themselves up to pace with the NHL and to become the scorers that they became. So, as much as I want to get all excited and jump on the train, I'm not on it right now. So thank you very much for watching. Hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video, and I'll talk to you again soon.